Okay, please hear me out. While reading the Evangelion manga for the first time last year, I realised something.
I don't know how to read.
This particular panel in volume 11 caught my attention, as the explicit inclusion of 9/11 makes it one of, if not the only, post-Y2K major political event ever mentioned to occur during the alternate history of our world in Evangelion. Obviously that's because of the production timeline of the anime itself compared to the manga. It'd be very bizarre if Evangelion predicted 9/11.
No! You never told me the truth about what happened to Mom!
They shouldn't have to, it was a national tragedy, now get in the damn tower!
With what we know about Evangelion's alternate history, with the ramifications of the second impact both geographically and geopolitically, I started thinking,
Which is straight up never a good thing.
does 9/11 happen in Evangelion? Well, the answer to that is yes, manga says so, video over. But here's the more important question. Can 9/11 happen in Evangelion? That's right, we're figuring out how to cause! Before we talk about the actual incident, we need to go over some of Evangelion's story to explain why 9/11 happening might not be possible. In September of the year 2000, a group of human scientists led by Dr. Katsuragi traveled to Antarctica to conduct experiments on the recently discovered white moon, which contained Adam. The experiments conducted by the Katsuragi expedition resulted in the second impact, where a human Immediately after the second impact, the UN fabricated a meteorite as a cover-up for the Katsuragi expedition, citing astronomer Seymour Nunn as a witness to the small meteorite a mere 15 minutes before it collided with Earth. Though not important for this video, it is important to know that the UN and the organisation they respond to, ZELA, knew that the Katsuragi expedition would cause the second impact. Everything that happened afterwards was intended. After the gargantuan tsunamis which devastate the southern hemisphere, kill an estimated 2 billion people, conflicts arise on the border of India and Pakistan due to a newfound refugee crisis. And on September 15, 2000, this conflict becomes a nuclear exchange, devastating both countries and killing uncounted numbers of people. Armed conflicts begin all over the world in response to this, and as every country is ravaged by the second impact, population numbers dwindle slowly from starvation, flooding, and war. Though whoever drops it goes unnamed, we also know that an N-bomb, that's a horrible name for that now that I'm thinking about it. We know that a nuclear bomb is dropped on Tokyo, killing 500,000 people a mere 5 days after the India-Pakistan conflict broke out. While these are the only two incidents named explicitly, for all intents and purposes, World War III begins, and global conflicts continue for 5 months until February 14, 2001, with the Valentine ceasefire formally putting an end to the fighting. So why was any of that relevant? How does any of that prevent 9/11 from also existing in this timeline? Mainly, it's the fact that Antarctica is f***ing gone. Whether it was the UN's cover-up story or the Katsuragi expedition that caused the second impact, Antarctica is gone, and all that water has to go somewhere. Because it wasn't an actual meteorite that destroyed Antarctica, none of its water contents got ejected out of the atmosphere, which, assuming that it means it all melted, global sea levels have to rise approximately 60 meters. We see the effects of this in the show itself, with several cities in Japan underwater. Episode 8's fight scene against the Sixth Angel Gagiel takes place in the Pacific Ocean, but we also see a shot of an underwater city. According to page 39 of the Neon Genesis Evangelion film book, volume 4, which is according to Wikipedia because I don't own this book yet, this fight takes place in the Ito area of the Shizuoka prefecture. Using floodmap.net, we could get a simulated map of the world with rising sea levels, and inputting 60 meters, we can see that Ito is flooded, making it a part of Sagami Bay and directly connecting it to the Pacific Pacific Ocean. And I have to say, I adore that level of attention to detail. But now that we know 60 meters is approximately the correct height water levels flooded to, using Ito as our reference, we can move ourselves over to New York and see that it is almost entirely flooded. So even though the World Trade Center itself would stand above the water, the buildings in effect are already destroyed, and 9/11 cannot happen in its current location. The Japanese government in Evangelion remade Tokyo twice, first in Matsumoto and then in Hakone. There is absolutely a possibility, and I'd argue inevitability, that the United States government would rebuild New York. Obviously, they aren't going to remake it one-to-one, but there would absolutely be a transfer of New York's iconography at the time, which among other things included the World Trade Center. However, the World Trade Center took 5 years to build between 1966 and 1971. There is no way that in this hypothetical New York 2, it could be rebuilt in the time between the end of World War III with the Valentine ceasefire and real-world 9/11. So if 9/11 does happen, which remember, according to the manga it does, the real-world events that both caused and created anti-American extremist sentiment in the first place have to happen, and the actual incident itself has to happen at any point after 2006. And that's if the American government in Evangelion's universe did decide to both rebuild New York and start it immediately in 2001, maybe even late 2000 after global flooding had settled if America was relatively unaffected by World War III. So, does 9/11 happen? According to the manga, yes. Can 9/11 happen exactly as it does in our world? No. Therefore, unless in some macabre way it happens on September 11th of any year post-2006, 9/11 does exist in Evangelion, but does not exist in universe with the name 9/11. Thanks for watching. Okay, hi. So, normally I just cut away to my end screen at the end of videos, but there's something I wanted to talk about but couldn't find a natural place to insert it into the video. When I was researching this topic, I wanted to make sure that no one else had done the same sort of video, because this thing's like so conceptually ridiculous but fascinating once you scratch the surface. I felt like if someone else had already done it, I couldn't. Like, it'd be like if I tried remaking SpongeBob Skin Theory. It was perfect the first time, but the only thing I could find when I was researching this, other than a Reddit thread asking the same question this video presented, was this Linkin Park AMV of the end of Evangelion with George Bush's address to the American people immediately after the events of 9/11 edited on top of it. This video is so amazing to me. Like, this was such a ridiculously niche video to find. It's so good as well. It has no right being as good as it is. Anyway, yeah, bye.